Being a synagogue president is not always what it's cut out to be. You get a few complaints every so often, a little bit of whining, a little bit of feedback, and not a lot of, I would say, positive gratification, always. Now, some of our presidents may feel differently and say that this was the best job of their entire career. And we hope that's the case when we invite the others, when we invite those to participate and to be in our leadership, take a leadership role on at TCS. We actually think that it actually can be quite rewarding of an experience. This year, we have, for the last year, we've had co-presidents. We have Eric Barron and Karen Wolf are serving as president of this congregation. And they are a tremendous team. And they complement each other quite well. Eric, perhaps, is a little bit more in the spotlight, or even comfortable in the spotlight. He's happy to be the one to greet everyone on Friday night and Saturday morning, and to sort of be the face in many ways of the congregation. But just as important, Karen Wolf, well, you may not see her in the spotlight. She is doing just as much work behind the scenes, which is ultimately keeping our congregation running as smoothly as it is. She's helping us, whether it's working, keeping the office flowing, and everyone working in tandem and rowing in the same direction, keeping our strategic plans flowing, helping us strategically think about ways in which we can continue to engage the congregation and ways in which to bring in more membership. Karen is the brains behind all of that that's taking place behind the scenes. And so together, they form an amazing team. And I'm thrilled to call them both up this morning as we listen to what they have to say. Presidential addresses. First we'll have Karen and then Eric, but we'll call them up together.
Thank you, Rabbi. I'd be lying if I didn't agree with you. Some days it's great and some days it's terrible, so I'm not going to lie. But today's one of those great days, so thank you and good morning to everyone. And I am privileged to be serving with Eric. It's been a wonderful year and a few months, and we really do make a very good team, and we bring complementary skills to the role. So it's really great, so thank you. 18, high, signifies life, as we all know, in the Jewish culture. As I reflect back on my first year as president or co-president and move on into my second, I realize that TCS has been a significant part of my Jewish adult life since we moved to Westport 21 years ago. So what is the meaning of life, or high, for me and TCS? Well, I am serving in my 18th year on the TCS board. 18 years is a very long time, and I have seen TCS grow and evolve over that time, always focusing on meeting the needs of the congregation. This, though, requires finesse and adaptability, as the needs of our congregation are incredibly diverse. A one-size-fits-all approach most definitely does not work here, and I say that as a good thing. I feel blessed that TCS starts from such a place of strength. While many communities are in decline or struggling, TCS has a stable membership base, an engaged and committed community, a thriving preschool and religious school program, and a strong spiritual life served by devoted clergy. In the spirit, though, of not resting on our laurels, and with a mission to build an even stronger TCS community, we embarked on a strategic planning process that the rabbi just referenced over the past 18 months. I do want to take a moment to thank the committee for their dedication to the process, for their creativity, and for their willingness to challenge conventional thinking. One objective for the strategic plan is to create a sustainable financial future for the short and long term, while we meet and exceed the needs of our diverse congregation. Through a congregational survey, small community conversations, and discussions with the board, we understand that we have the opportunity to build on our strengths. That includes our clergy, of course, but also our supportive community, which is one where people feel like they have very good friends. We learned that our community is looking for us to shift to a more relational focus, where community and connections are at the center of everything we do. And they look to us to facilitate building even stronger relationships across and within the congregation. Our congregants want more social opportunities, a clear membership journey, spiritual and cultural experiences that are accessible, and that we meet people where they are. This needs to be at the core of everything we do at TCS. We recognize that life is challenging, and never more so than in the past 3 years, with many competing priorities, but we strive to make the synagogue community a life-enhancing experience. We have already started on our strategic plan journey, with many key initiatives already underway. Our building renovation is almost complete, obviously, which will be great and create a better and more beautiful and more dynamic space. And while the tent is great, we are all definitely ready to go inside. We have a refreshed logo, brand identity, and a stronger communications that were launched this past year that I hope you've noticed added some energy to our messages. We are exploring a name change, a potential new membership model, and we continue to ensure that our preschool and Kahila programs are the very best they can be to meet the needs of our community. And our work is far from done. We will be developing several new task forces to explore how to continue to engage our young families and our empty nesters, and how we can use digital tools and platforms in a more relevant way to meet our congregants where they are. People ask me why I do this. I have a full-time job, an amazing and talented spouse. He clearly edited this version, and now I understand why. We have kids, an enormous dog, a house, etc., etc. But I do this for many reasons. First, personally, I have been able to experience many wonderful things here at TCS. I met most of my closest friends here when we moved to Westport from New York City 21 years ago. My kids graduated from the preschool. They went through the Kahila program, had their B'nai Mitzvah with Rabbi Wiederhorn almost 10 years ago. My daughter is still best friends with many of the kids she met in her twos program, even when they split to different elementary and middle schools in town, as Kahilas help serve as an anchor for them to stay connected. And the rabbi here was here for my family when my father experienced significant health issues and his subsequent passing. Second, I have always been one to volunteer and give back, so it seemed like a logical evolution for me personally. I also believe that synagogue life is only as rich as what we put into it. We have a very lean staff who would not be able to unlock all the potential for the TCS community without support from the TCS community. It is important for me to be a part of the solution to make things the very best they can be, and for the synagogue to be there for people when they need it most. And if it's not me, then who? I thank Michael and my kids for supporting me during the past 18 years, and most importantly, this past year as co-president. My daughter is working in Sydney, Australia this fall, and a few weeks after she arrived, we were talking about being in a new place and not knowing anybody. It gave me great comfort knowing that there would be people on the other side of the world like me, building strong Jewish communities through synagogues that would offer my daughter a place of familiarity and comfort when she needed it, being 9,000 miles away from home. I hope you find it of value to become a part of making TCS community the very best it can be. Volunteer to get involved with the schools, for Mitzvah Day, teach a class, join our board, sponsor a program, or any other ways that you think you can add life to the TCS community.
Thank you, Karen. I've said to Karen many times, if I still had my company, I would recruit her as my CEO. This is my fourth and final time to have the honor to speak to this congregation on Yom Kippur. Over the years, I've spoken from our sanctuary, a pre-recorded video, at a church, and this year in the tent. It has been interesting. Our topics range from our history to the importance of the door of a door, to plans for renovation, to how our people stepped up during the pandemic, to the building of our spiritual home. But today I'd like to take the opportunity to share with you some of the things I've learned over these 3+ years and some of the things that have been confirmed to me in this role. It starts with our clergy. My respect for Rabbi Wiederhorn and Cantor Katan grows every day. Their love for Judaism, their commitment to TCS, and their tireless efforts on the behalf of this community are absolutely extraordinary. Their visibility in the Jewish space, the rabbi in his role at the New York Board of Rabbis, the Cantor as president of the Cantor Assembly, and what they both do with the Interfaith Clergy Association contribute to TCS both internally and externally. And of course, we will never forget the rabbi's trip to Ukraine. It made us all so proud. Karen talked about our administrative team. They are very special. In all the years I've been here, we've never had a team that was so dedicated, so professional, so capable, and as approachable as this particular group. And let us never forget our facilities team, who day after day do things that make the synagogue work. They do it with humility, they do it with pride and expertise without ever complaining or pushing back. And of course, I need to talk about our congregation, us. The rabbi often talks about our big tent, and Karen referred to our diversity several times. But as I've had the opportunity to meet and know more of you, I've blown away by the intellect, the creativity, the resourcefulness, and the power of our people. And beyond all that, I'm gratified by the dedication of so many of our members, which leads me to the subject I want to focus on today, volunteerism. We have a terrific staff, but without our volunteers, we simply cannot do the things we do. Karen referred to this several times in her remarks. Volunteerism is inherent in Jewish values. I read a piece from a Federation group not too long ago that I really took a liking to. It said, quote unquote, Tikkun Olam, repair the world, expresses the value in volunteering in Judaism. The world depends on people being active, not only in their own lives, but in their community destiny as well. Community destiny. I'd like you to think about that for a minute. I wish I could mention all the members who volunteer. I simply can't. But I would like to share with you 3 examples which I believe are symbolic of the things that happen that are less obvious. First, it's our bylaws. We were in need of updating the bylaws, so we asked Isabel Moskowitz to take on this project. She put together a high-powered team of attorneys who worked diligently for 2 years, reviewing the bylaws line by line with extraordinary diligence and care, resulting in what we all approved just this past June. Secondly, we realized we needed to enhance our marketing efforts. A marketing task force comprised of an extremely creative group went to work. A new board position evolved from that, with Diane Benke and Debbie Barra as co-chairs working closely with Seth Golub. The results are an improved website, enhanced messaging, new branding, and our new logo. As you have seen, we have a new bulletin, which is really a magazine, which is spearheaded by Diana Sussman and Elise Meyer. It's an incredible piece of work. Third, Stacy Kamersar stepped up and put together a very talented team when we were in need of filling our executive director role. They reviewed dozens of resumes, conducted a series of interviews, and put in hours and hours of work. The results could not be better, and as you get to know Cynthia Bannon, you'll know precisely what I'm talking about. These are just a few of the many things our people do, but they truly represent the power, the meaning, the impact of volunteerism. So why do volunteers do this? You heard from Karen why she does this. At our first board meeting of the fiscal year, we asked each member to share why they're on the board. The answers varied. They varied from, I need to contribute. I love TCS. It's what I do. It's our responsibility to keep Judaism moving. I want to be part of this. This isn't just my house, it's my neighborhood. And one of our more humorous people said, it gets me out of the house. The common themes are we need to help, we need to contribute, we need to be part of the community. The Talmud says, good deeds are done by good people. Volunteers do good deeds. We have so many good people doing so many good deeds at TCS. You heard the rabbi talk about this a bit last night. There are so many acts of kindness that happen here, whether it's helping prepare for a shiva, or helping out with a meal for someone who's ill, or driving an elderly person to services, or running an errand for someone in need. It happens so often. But it isn't easy. I personally believe that time is the enemy of volunteering. So often I wanted to do things, but I didn't feel I had the time to do it. I'm sure many of you can relate to this. But if you want to volunteer, you can find the time. Or as Elizabeth Andrews said, volunteers don't necessarily have the time, they just have their heart. I love that quote. There are so many volunteers who go unnamed, but my guess is they don't mind. I keep on my desk a plaque that I inherited from my father. Please forgive the 1950s wording, but it says, "There's no limit to what a man can do or where he can go if he doesn't mind who gets the credit." I believe that many of our volunteers feel that way. A way for me to conclude my thoughts on volunteering is to share with you an email I received from one of our congregants just last week. She said, quote, "I'm wondering if we could set a goal for every single TCS member or family to do some sort of tikkun olam." She listed things like delivering food to Holocaust survivors or those who are homebound. She asked if they could donate clothes, have their kids draw pictures for the elderly, or help with Gillespie. She suggested things like helping with gardening, spending time at the pantry at person to person, and many more. What a fabulous idea. We love to get ideas from our congregants. Can you imagine, if we took this seriously, how that would impact that community destiny I referred to earlier? If I could quote Lily Tomlin, my guess is she hasn't quoted too much at Yom Kippur services. She said, "I often wondered why somebody didn't do something about that, and then I realized I was somebody." That rang true for me, and I hope it rings true for you. Now it's time for me to talk about the High Holiday Appeal and the co-op campaigns. Some of my friends refer to this as the inevitable part of this presentation. We made a conscious decision to keep this shorter than in the past. The truth is, this is not comfortable. You may recall last year I shared a quote that I found in the foreword that amused me. It said, "The High Holiday Appeal on Yom Kippur is the most ill-conceived, poorly timed of all Jewish rituals." I was amused when I first read that, and I still am, because I can relate to that. As a child growing up in Brooklyn at the Marine Park Jewish Center, I heard stories about donations being read aloud at the synagogue during Yom Kippur services, which humiliated many people. It left a bad taste in my mouth, which lingers to this day. But we have to do this. It's the one time we're all together to hear this important message. You received a letter from the High Holiday Appeals Committee, that very committed team, but just let me review with you 3 points in that letter. 1, our dues do not cover our expenses. The High Holiday Appeal and our annual fundraiser are critical sources of revenue each year, so we need your support. And if you give a bit more than in the past, we would be most grateful. 2, we encourage each member of the TCS community to pledge what you can, no matter how much. Being part of this initiative is what matters, and we'll be happy to work with you to spread payments over time if that makes it easier to contribute. And 3rd, participation has been lowered during the last few years, which we attribute to the pandemic, the fact that we haven't been here, and that many of our families have encountered difficulties. Historically, about 2/3 of our community contribute. We would love to see that number reach 75%. If we could increase to that level, it would have a significant impact on our financial well-being. If I could quote Winston Churchill, "You make a living by what you get, you make a life by what you give." And finally, let's briefly discuss the co-op campaign, our renovation project. We came so close to being ready for the holidays, so close. I can't tell you how frustrating it was for our committee, but we take solace in how gorgeous the renovation is. The sanctuary, social hall, community space, rotunda, and offices are totally revamped. And there are many things that are not so visible. Our security system is better than ever. Our Wi-Fi, sound systems, and streaming capabilities will be state-of-the-art. The obsolete wiring and cabling and phone systems, switching mechanisms, and computers have been totally upgraded. I am confident that all of us will be proud of our new home. Those who took a peek yesterday know what I'm talking about. We hope others will take a peek after services. The COA committee building team has met every single week for over 3 years to get this done. You talk about volunteering, this was amazing. But the reality, this was a significant investment. Remember, the COA campaign was only our second capital campaign in our 35 years. At this moment in time, 40% of our members have contributed to date. Eileen Frost and her fundraising committee have put in so much time and effort to get our number to over 5.5 million, and we're closing in on our goal, but we're not there yet. If you haven't heard from this group, you will. That's a promise, as we still have not spoken to many of you, and we certainly plan to do that soon. We hope that those who have yet to participate will join us in this momentous initiative. This is our home. It's our spiritual home. It's where we come to pray. It's where we come to learn. It's where we come to socialize. And yes, it's where we come to fulfill our community destiny. We hope you will feel the pride and gratification that goes with being part of all this. It's a unique opportunity for every TCS congregant. So in conclusion, let me say again that it's been an honor for Karen and me to serve this extraordinary congregation. We thank you for your support. We thank you for your generosity. We thank you for your volunteerism. And we thank you for making us who we are. Now, I'd like to add one final quote, if I may, from one of my favorite characters, Casey Stengel. Casey Stengel said, "There are 3 types of people: those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who said, 'What happened?'" I hope that each of you will be one of those who makes things happen. So for Lois, the love of my life, and my wife for over 50 years, my beautiful daughters, Andrea and Deb, their devoted husbands, John and Howie, and our spectacular grandchildren, Logan, Jonah, Sage, and Tess, I wish everyone a year filled with peace, happiness, good health, and wonderful memories. Shana Tova, Gamar Tov.